Okay folks, on this next video I'm going to show you how to change the crossover coolant gaskets on a 2007 Pontiac G6. There's actually a right and a left one on here. You can't see them, but we'll get it to you here in a minute. They're behind these pulleys here. The first thing we're going to want to do is remove the entire air filter box. Unscrew it right here. And then there's these three, and then we got some other bolts right here. I'll explain to you in a minute. Okay, now that I've got the air filter out and the top, I've went ahead and disconnected this mass airflow sensor right here that goes into the on top of the air filter. You're going to want to disconnect that. I also forgot to mention, go ahead and unplug your negative battery post before you get started on any of these projects. So now I'm going to go ahead and take out this entire box. It's three 10mm bolts right there in the corner, and then one right down here at the bottom. So three 10mm bolts, and I'll go ahead and take those off. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, folks, is take 15mm 1/2-inch socket and take off this strut right here, the strut engine mount. We gotta take this off to get our belt off. If you're gonna take your belt off, you gotta get this out of the way. So it's just two 15mm nuts. That will just swing out as soon as I get that out of the way. And then there's a 3/8 ratchet down there. In order to get the belt off, all you do is just have the 3/8 ratchet into the end of the belt tensioner right here. No socket, just the ratchet itself. And you'll pull up straight, and it takes all the tension off that belt. You can pull the belt right off. So that's what's going to be our next step. Okay folks, in order to get the alternator off, you've got a 15mm bolt right here. It's the longer out of the two. You'll have another 15mm bolt in the back that goes straight down. It's back here, it's hidden, you can't see it real well, but that's another 15mm bolt. So you'll have those two that look similar. Your third bolt is going to look like this, and it goes down on this back side, on the other side of this other bolt over here, and so it'll go into to secure the alternator. But then keep in mind, on top of it is a 10mm nut that's right here. No, that's not the one, that's my other one. 10mm nut right here. Okay, this will go on right here because it's holding a bracket that holds these two lines on. Okay, keep that in mind. So that's one of them. This one right here is I believe it's a 13mm nut that goes on the very back of the alternator that ties all of the electrical lines to the alternator to the back. Okay, so those are the nuts and bolts you have to worry about on removing the alternator completely. Okay, now that we have the alternator out, let's move on to our next step. Okay, the next thing you're going to do after the alternator is the power steering pump. I've already got it loosened up. There's three 13mm bolts that are kind of in a half moon right here on the back side of the power steering pulley. Piece of cake. Just take all three of the bolts out, and this will lift right out of here, and then just set it out of the way, and I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, you can see how I've removed the upper radiator hose right there. That bad boy goes to the top of the connector of the of our part that we're trying to get off, the bypass connector hose. There's this hose right here. I'm having a hard time getting it off. It's these stupid GM clips are giving me a fit, so I'm going to try to take the crossover off and then just kind of muscle that off because I've lost grip of it down here. But this is a 10mm nut right here. Take that off and just pull this out. It's the overflow coolant hose. I've went ahead and took this off, another 10mm nut right there. That'll just give us a little bit of space, move that bracket out of the way kind of. And there's also two 13mm nuts right there and right down there. That will kind of give us some leeway with this. It'll allow us to move these two coolant hoses. So you're going to want to remove those. And then these two pulleys, pulley up top here and this pulley right down here, two 15mm nuts. Those are the next thing you're going to want to take off, and we should be ready to tackle the crossover itself. Okay, correction on that bottom pulley. The bottom pulley is actually a 13 millimeter. The top one's a 15 millimeter. And as you can see, I went ahead and took the engine bracket off. 1, 2, 3 bolts right there on the engine bracket, 15 millimeter. Just the metal brackets used to hoist the engine out. Now I can go ahead and take off the crossover bolts. Okay, there's 5 bolts total holding this thing on, plus the 3 engine mount brackets. So this is what it looks like off. Here's the old this just fell off basically, but that's not the trouble one. This has been leaking on this side over here. On this, it'd be the left side. So there you have it. Installation is just the opposite of removal. There's my new gasket. And that's it. Thanks for watching.